Man, I had this really cool intro I was going to do. I can't remember what it was. Damn. Hello, everyone. Well, it was something spooky. I was going to do like a Vincent Price voice. I've been working on my voices lately. Welcome to Death by Podcast, America's greatest horror podcast. I'm your host, Adam. That's your other host over there,
Kevin.
Welcome to episode 69, Kevin. Means what are we going to do for episode 100? Or should we do something for 75?
I don't know. It depends on.
I think for 100, for 100, we definitely got to get a celebrity like Billy or somebody. Meatloaf. Meatloaf's dead. Rest in peace. Somebody. I don't know.
Yeah. We'd probably do that.
Maybe 75. We can do something too. This week for the letter E. So for new listeners, it's been a couple weeks. We had personal things going on. For new listeners, we go through the alphabet. We pick a horror movie for every letter. We talk about it, but it's got to be on VHS. VHS ended in 2005 with what kind of glasses are those, Kevin?
They are zoom glasses. They're like magnifying glasses.
Oh, like quadfocals, bifocals?
Yeah, I wanted to check them out real quick with they're they're for like, painting. They're for, when I'm working on
small stuff.
Yeah.
I get it. A History of Violence. That was the last VHS. So, so yeah, that's what we do this week. Main topic. Kevin had letter E. He picked Evil Dead 1981. Kevin, I know it wasn't by design, so don't take credit for it, but we couldn't have planned this better, right? Because
right.
You know what tomorrow, this weekend, Friday, something, Evil Dead Rise.
Yes.
The new Evil Dead movie comes out.
Yeah. I think it's on Friday.
I'd like to see it. I'll probably wait till it's streaming, whatever. But were you planning on to go and see it?
I wasn't, because I didn't see the last one.
Oh, that's right. All right, well, you got to see the last one. That's a good movie.
Yeah, that's what I hear. And I don't know why it stuck. It stuck in my craw for a long time that it was Evil Dead, and it was like, you know what I mean. Sam Raimi. I don't know I know he's a producer, and right. I think Bruce Campbell's a producer too. Yeah, but it always just stuck in my craw. Just make something new. But I've heard it's good. I've heard it's
good, man. It's it's like same story-ish, house in the woods thing. You go to watch that movie. Was it Andy Muschietti? I think directed.
I don't know anything about.
You watch that movie for the horror. It's a horror. It's like a true horror movie. It's really good. It does not have any of the comedy that Evil Dead 2 Army of Darkness has. In fact, there's not even like
Ash isn't in it, right?
I don't think there's a hero character at all. It's just kind of like, I don't know. I can't remember. Maybe somebody survives, but it's good. This new one though looks kind of like, again, I think produced by Raimi, and I think Bruce Campbell maybe also, they're just taking a check, but it looks a little bit like they're going a little too far away from Evil Dead. This movie, I feel like they should have called something else, but
I don't know. I've heard it is excellent. But
really?
And all
right.
I'm kind of at a point where, especially, I've been doing a real dive on this. I mean, I've always liked this series.
Yeah, it's great.
But I really did a big dive this week on it. I watched all three of them.
Yep.
I watched I watched most of Bruce Campbell's commentary on this one. I watched there's a really good documentary on Evil Dead 2 on the DVD. It's also on YouTube. Watch that.
Have you seen the series? Ash
vs.
Evil Dead. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't. I think I watched the first 2 seasons. I didn't finish it.
Ooh.
The pilot is great.
Phenomenal. So that series, excellent pilot. First season, decent. Second season takes a big dive.
Yeah, that's right.
Third season is excellent.
Really?
Yes. Third season is like, it's like Bruce Campbell Like it's just really good, man. I would recommend going back to it. In fact, you could. I don't know if you finish season 2, forget about it. Just go right into season 3.
Okay.
I mean, watch it all. I'd watch it all because I'm a completist, but whatever. Well, that's good to hear. Yeah, it's a great franchise. We're gonna get into that. Before we do, um, did you find any news? There was something that excited you, I thought. No,
Not really any news.
it's fine.
I did what you watch.
What'd you watch? You watched something?
I have a Picard update.
Oh no.
There's one episode left.
Whew. So how are we doing so far? I know you were liking it last we heard.
It's still pretty good. It's
Oh shit.
still, and like even when like I tell you what, they did 4 episodes. I'm like, this is not bad. And then and it was like they weren't really like mining the member berries. You know what I mean? Like they
Yeah, I
really
know.
weren't.
You hate candy bars and
Well, I just don't
fool me
like.
once, women.
I just don't like doing it for like
I know.
no reason.
I
You
know.
know
I
what I
totally
mean?
agree. Totally agree.
And so they didn't do it that much in the first 4 episodes. It was all right, but like the fifth episode, it was like they needed it was like they had a quota for the series that they had to hit and hadn't hit it yet.
Uh-huh.
Because the fifth episode was like it was hilarious because it got to be like fun. Like they literally go to like I mean what it became a big part of the show, but like Jordy runs like a ship museum so that like you could see all the ships from all the other movie and like they point them at this point where like they're sitting around and like being like, do you know what that one is? It felt like, you know how I said the first 2 seasons, I don't think the writers even watch Star Trek. This felt like almost like, I don't know. It felt a little bit like, you know how like like cosplayers are like, like con models will like drop facts about something to prove
Yeah.
how much they know about it. And
Yeah,
it
yeah, yeah. And
always
it's
seems
like
a little,
canned shit.
and
Yeah.
it seems like clunky,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
That's kind of how this one episode felt. It was weird, and
Yeah.
it was just an overload. And it was, by the end it was funny, but
You think it was
like
intentional? Like poking fun at that
no,
idea?
no,
Okay. Okay.
I think it was just like, all right, I don't know, but it was fine. And even the ones that, even as much as some of it felt like just come the fuck on, like Jesus, but everything else was fine.
Yeah.
And that museum or whatever, it wound up kind of working like into the story and everything else, but they've got, and even like they do, I mean, I don't know, spoilers, they get the ship back, they get the Enterprise D back in this last episode. And
Enterprise D.
the Enterprise D is the ship from the show.
That's why is it D? What is it? ABCD? ABC and blew up or something?
Yeah, so the original the Shatner uh you know,
Yeah.
that's the Enterprise. That's the original Enterprise. They blow that up in Star Trek 3. So at the end of Star Trek 4,
Wales.
yeah, they get the Enterprise A, which is just a
Okay.
new ship. They basically get a new ship that looks like the old ship, but it's the Enterprise A. And then there wasn't anything for a while. And then when Next Gen came out, they had the Enterprise D. Because the Enterprise or Next Gen takes place 80 years after the original series.
Where were
And
B
then
and C?
they get into that in the series. Actually, the captain of the Enterprise B was Cameron from Ferris Bueller.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Damn, what's that dude's name? I forget.
And
Yeah.
I don't know if he was a captain, but Shooter McGavin was a crewman on the Enterprise C.
Who?
Shooter McGavin, the bad guy from Happy Gilmore. He's in a lot of stuff.
I don't know.
You'd know him to see him. Chris McDonald, I think is the actor's name.
Oh, Robin? Guy who played Robin with the laundry?
No.
Chris O'Connell.
Yeah. That's
But
that's Chris.
Christian Bale? He played?
No.
Captain?
No. You know this guy to see him. He always plays a dick. But he played Leave It to Beaver's dad in the movie. But anyway,
In the movie. Jesus Christ. What are we
in the
doing?
Leave It to Beaver movie, yeah.
Who played Beaver?
I don't remember some shitty kid.
Macaulay Culkin.
No, I don't think so.
That'd be weird.
But anyway, uh but like so anyway, they blow up the Enterprise D
Yeah.
in one of them in one of the movies in Generations.
Yeah.
And then in the rest of the movies they have the Enterprise E, which
E. Get out of
yeah,
here.
and it's kind of a I don't know, it's okay.
Yeah.
Anyway,
They all
they've
look the
been
same
on
to me.
but they've had this other ship this whole time. Uh and this last episode they get the Enterprise D back. And at first, I think if you had told me at the beginning of the series, like they're gonna get, I'd have been like, okay, how are we gonna bend over backwards to get this back? And
Yeah.
that's the thing, like it kind of works. Like it's like, okay, that's a acceptable explanation, you know,
Yep.
and also like the Data comes back even though they've killed him twice, and
That's
like,
a son of a bitch.
but like they bring him back, and it's kind of like it's acceptable. Like, you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
the reasoning is like worth it to get the whole crew together, and you're like, all right, I'll take it. It's
But it isn't getting the whole crew together to you the member berry thing?
yeah. At first, I mean, yeah.
I would expect you to be really upset that the whole crew's getting back together.
No, no. See, that doesn't bother me as long as it's like natural and they act like themselves, which
Yeah.
they do. Like everybody except 7 or 9, who's not the part of the original crew, but like she never. I don't know what the deal is with her, but
Well, first of all, she needs to get a better name. That's what.
oh, her name's awesome. 7 of 9. She's
The hell
great.
does that even? I don't even know what that. I don't even know which character you're talking about. Is she
She was on Voyager, but
the
she's
hot one?
on Picard. Yeah, she was the hot one on Voyager.
Hmm.
She was a Borg, and
She's a hot Borg.
yeah, she was a Borg, and they
I don't
brought
know.
her in, they fix her up, and yeah,
What's her name? Perry Mason or something. What's her name?
Jerry Ryan.
Jerry Ryan. Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, enough Star Trek talk. But yeah, so far so good. They've got one episode left. I'm still very gun shy.
Oh, okay.
I'm not.
Are you watching them as they air? Like
Yeah, I'm watching them as they come out.
no
And like,
spoilers. You don't want to get any spoilers the next day. So,
no, I'm gonna watch. I mean, tomorrow is the last one,
man. All right.
and it's like
Well, I'm
it,
excited for you. I'm happy for you, man. I'm glad you're enjoying Star Trek. It's good.
and it's it's I don't know that it's gonna last. Like this is gonna be fine, whatever. And
Well, at least you got a good season out of it, you know. So,
yeah,
like one good season.
it's good. Here's the thing, it's good. It's fine. It shouldn't say it's because everything else has been so bad for so long.
Yeah.
This seems amazing.
Yeah.
Like, but it's not. It's fine. It's as good as the next gen movies, which are
Serviceable.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're fine. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with them. I mean,
I get it.
you know,
So, hypothetically speaking, go way, way into the future. All the enterprises die or get destroyed all the way to Z, Enterprise Z. Then what do? They start the alphabet again, and then you get like Enterprise double D. Is that a possibility?
I don't know what they would do. I mean, it'd probably be pretty unlikely that they would. It's not super common. I mean, I don't. There's not a ton of other ships where they do that with. Usually, it would just be we got another ship. Like
Oh,
Voyager. There's only one Voyager. There's no
okay.
Voyager B.
Even if it blows up, it's just the Voyager again.
Yeah, and
Okay.
even like let's say they got all the way to Z. I mean, unless like they don't commission one until the other one is destroyed.
Yeah.
And it was 80 years between the A and the D.
Right. Okay.
So hypothetically, I mean,
Way
we're
into the
talking,
future.
yeah, unless they,
Yeah, I get it.
you're feeling if they blew up 4 enterprises in like 5 years, they would just stop making enterprises.
All right, we gotta rethink this thing, man.
Yeah.
Speaking of what are they called? Finales. Last night or today, maybe people watched it. Mandalorian season 3 finale. Have you been watching it?
No, but I heard, and I know I'm like usually the guy that says like what, but I haven't talked to you about Mandalorian, but I hear this season is rough.
It's rough. Yeah, it's real rough. And like I won't go into maybe I shouldn't go into. Oh, by the time
Go
we
ahead. So
by the
I don't care. You can spoil it for me. I
by the
don't
time
care.
we post this, it'll be a day or two out. But mild spoilers for the finale, I suppose. Maybe not even any spoilers, but yeah, this season was just disjunct, whatever the word is. It started off with how the like for the general audience, how the hell did Baby Yoda and
Sure. Yeah.
Din get back together? Because that happened in Boba Fett, and a lot of people, general audience, didn't watch Boba Fett, so they're going off the finale of season 2 where Luke takes Baby Yoda away. They don't explain it. They don't do a previously thing, So we started off on a bad foot, and ever since then, it's just been like Din's, the Mando, like his journey to be cleaned in the waters of Mandalore ended in episode 2. It was done. He did it. So then the rest of the season's about Bo-Katan, and he's just like a background character. Baby Yoda like got close to saying words, which means, as soon as he talks, they got to put a helmet on him. So they're not going to do that. But he got like they turned IG-11, into a mech suit for Baby Yoda.
I did see pictures of that.
Which we knew wouldn't last long, and it didn't. So, but yeah, it was just so rushed and so unfocused. The finale was like, it's like the finale, man. Give it an hour. They gave it 25, 30 minutes,
Ooh.
um, of actual screen time, then you get 5-10 minutes of credits. So yeah, it was rushed big time, and they wrapped everything up in a nice little neat package for like, everybody is happy and fine, but there's all these plot threads that are like dangling that they didn't address. Um, for a while it was like celebrity of the week.
Yeah,
It was really annoying.
that was what I was hearing.
So I don't know, man. I'm not. I'll always watch Star Wars, but I'm at a point where I have to accept that Star Wars is on the road to just becoming another sci-fi thing, and instead of like the uniqueness that Star Wars that set it apart, it's definitely. I never bought into the Disneyfication of Star Wars,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm starting to see it.
That I had a conversation with a buddy of mine, and he was like, "Are you watching it?" And I was like, "No." And I was like, that was one of the. I was like, "How is it?" And he's like, "This is a summary." He's like, "Dude," he's like, "There, it's an." There's still talk every episode. They're fucking talking about taking off their helmets for like just who gives a fuck? Like they just keep talking about whether or not they could take their helmet off, and if we're gonna.
Yeah,
And he's like, and this last episode had fucking Lizzo in it, and I was like,
yeah.
wait, what? And I was
I
like,
didn't even know who Lizzo was. I just thought it was a bad actress, and
I knew she was a singer. I didn't know anything about her until I saw
Jack
the
Black
pictures
was in
of
that
her.
episode, and it's like, what are we doing, man? Like,
And that, yeah, to me,
what are
and
we
I
doing?
said this to him. I was like,
Tim
if
Meadows.
yeah, that's my thing. Is I still am like, I'm missing the days of. You remember when there were only 3 movies? All 3 movies were A pluses, and it's like we've stopped. It used to be like I want to demand excellence from my Star Wars. You know what I mean? Like I want
Yeah,
my Star Wars to be at A for wherever it was A level shit,
yeah.
and that was it. And then it's just been watered down and watered, and now it's like
That's like I'm saying. It's becoming just another sci-fi thing.
which is a bummer.
It is.
It should be the elite. It's but
But I say that, and like Andor was great. It needed a little more pulp, a little more, stormtroopers and the Force or something, but it was quality. I really, Rogue One, quality. Solo, I'll stand behind Solo all day. It's a great movie. So it's more this streaming stuff, which you and I we've talked about this before. The streaming audience is a very much larger audience. So I understand that they're gonna get a little more bubblegum in there. But I rewatched Mando season 1 and 2, and they are great. They're really good. They're not uh, you know, original trilogy fantastic, but
sure.
they're really good. Um, it's just this, I got to lower my expectations as far as the streaming stuff goes. But they've got 3 movies coming out, and I'm hoping, Star Wars Celebration last weekend or whatever it was. Some good announcements coming out of there that I'm excited about, and I don't know. It's I you got to take the streaming stuff like almost in a separate category, because kids sit down and watch Disney Plus, and I get it. But this whole thing about like, I want to push back against this thing that's like, well, if you don't like it, it's not made for you. It's not made for you. No, fuck
Fuck
you.
off.
Yeah, fuck
Yeah.
off with that. Like, that's just because you don't like something or you want to criticize it constructively doesn't mean it's not made for you. I understand the toxicity of just like,
I mean,
this
we're
is
Star Wars fans. Is it
right.
who is it made for then?
But that's the thing that I'm talking about. Like,
Yeah, we're
Star
not talking
Wars,
about,
yeah, Star Wars
Sesame
is
Street.
right. Star Wars is a specific thing. It is a specific type of sci-fi fantasy that nothing else can touch, can compare to. Nothing against Star Trek, but it's not like that. It's not like Blade Runner. It's not like any of this other thing. So when you turn it into that thing, then it's not Star Wars anymore. It's lost its fundamental practices, building blocks, aesthetics, stuff like that. That's when, as a Star Wars fan, we go, I think it's fair to say I'm a Star Wars fan and this isn't Star Wars, because Star Wars is a specific thing. But I don't know, like it, love it, not like it at all. There is a lot there, even with this season 3, as disjointed as it was. The show looks phenomenal with just very few gripes. Especially the dogfights, the spaceship stuff. Man, whenever I watch Star Wars, I used to just be like lightsabers and helmets, but now I look forward to like spaceships going at it, because the Mandalorian like locked that stuff up. It's awesome.
Cool.
So there's a lot of good stuff in it, but a good scene or even a good episode doesn't make a good season. So that's where that's at. But I'd love to hear I'd love to see what you thought if you watched it. But yeah, other than that, man, I've nothing against the movie. I tried to watch My Cousin Vinny twice, and I fell asleep. It's nothing against the movie, so I'm gonna get it in there. I promise.
It's okay.
It's just something about Joe Pesci, man.
That you don't like, or that
I've never liked him. I've never liked him. Like, in
man.
Scorsese stuff, Home Alone, yes, but that's not why I watched that movie. Scorsese stuff, he does great, but that's not why I watch those movies.
Sure.
So, and then Cocaine Bear is still on my list. I really want to watch that. I don't know why. It's dumb.
Definitely watch My Cousin Vinny before Cocaine Bear, but
Did you see my buddy Dan, Death by Toys, made those 2 Cocaine Bear figures?
I don't think I did. I think I missed that.
For the studio. I didn't realize that, what's his name? Little Ice T or
Ice Cube's kid.
Yeah, Ice Cube. I didn't realize he was in it. Is that true?
Yeah, he's in it, and he's
think-
really. I tell you what, man. Like,
I think
and
he's terrible.
I thought he was good in Straight Outta Compton, man. He's really. I don't know if he's really bad or just like the script's really bad. Everybody, all the dialogue feels like they're like. It feels like a Tommy Wiseau movie. It's just like, I mean, the dialogue.
Well, it's Cocaine Bear. It probably is a Tommy Wiseau movie like that.
It's just everything feels like. Did you ever write something and then when you read it out loud or like you realize like, oh, that doesn't sound right
All the time. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's all the dialogue in this movie feels like that, and I didn't write it. You know what I mean? Like, it feels I get the same feeling that I have when I do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he was in Kenobi. You watched Kenobi, right?
I did watch Kenobi.
He was terrible. He was absolutely terrible. He's like,
oh, by the way, I did watch a little bit of Mandalorian the other day.
Yeah.
And they did this thing again that had what I feel like new Star Wars has done this like 3 or 4 times where some shit goes down, a character says, There's too many of them. Go ahead. I'll stay behind.
Uh,
And then
yeah.
but like every time it's like, no, but you can leave. Like in this case, I was watching, I'm
Yeah.
like, there's blaster doors. Like you can just go. There's
Yeah.
no reason for you to
Yeah.
stay.
Yeah.
This is so stupid. It was like the end of I Am Legend where he's like, he has to like, he does the same thing. And it's like, you can just, but he takes a grenade and he runs into all the guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
You
could
could just
have,
go in that door and shut it.
you could throw the grenade and go. Yeah. You could get in this door. But like, I feel like new Star Wars has done that a bunch where it's like,
Yeah.
no, 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 you stay behind. I'm going to stay here and die. And
Yeah.
you don't have to at
I,
all.
I
Like
tell you
it's,
what, man, John Favreau, for me, has lost his street cred. I think that, he's the showrunner. He is the writer of the episodes. And I started looking back at all his stuff, and it's like Swingers, awesome. Iron Man 1, awesome. After that, what's he got?
yeah, chef.
Chef. Okay, Chef is fine, but that's about making
Well,
omelets. Get out
no,
of
no,
here.
no. Here's
Grilled
the deal.
cheese.
Look at chef. It's a chef. And this is like, this is my theory, but it's
Yeah.
pretty obvious when you think about it. Chef is about Iron Man 2.
All right.
Like it's chef is awesome, but like
Yeah.
when you think of it under the context of like it's about this guy who's like a big badass chef who gets hired to be like, hey, you're the guy, like you're good at this. And he comes in and he kicks ass, he opens this restaurant, and then he's like, I want to try some new shit, I want to do my thing. And they're like, nah, man, play the hits. And they're like, like he gets in trouble, like he winds up getting fired for like, don't fuck around with this menu, man. Like make it whatever. And like
Yeah.
that's what I think Iron Man 2 was. I think he was like, I killed it with Iron Man 1. Let me do what I want. And the studio, because you could smell studio interference all over Iron Man 2. And like it's kind of been publicly talked about too.
Yeah.
That they didn't really have that much of a game plan.
Right.
And but they made him jam all the shit in there.
Right.
And I think that's what Chef's about, where he's like, fuck this. I'm making he opens a food truck and he's like,
Yeah.
I'm doing my thing. And that's what Chef is. Chef's him going back to making a little independent movie because that's his wheelhouse.
And it's a great movie. And that's why I think, like, I don't know, man. I just feel like he's got a niche and he should not stick to it, but I feel like he's the Star Wars fan that like because you got him and Dave Filoni sitting next to each other. And Dave Filoni is George Lucas's pick. Dave Filoni knows minutia, and to know minutia in Star Wars helps. He did Clone Wars, which is just like rich and rich and rich with like so much history and character development, all this stuff. But Mandalorian, you know, Favreau, it's like meat and potatoes, and you can only go so far with meat and potatoes in Star Wars before you start to go like you start to see the soft spots and the holes and the lack of homework that he hasn't done, that lack of homework that he's done. So I think that Favreau should, I was saying, after season 1 and 2, like I trust Favreau for Star Wars. I'm not on that ship anymore. I would rather see Dave Filoni. They definitely need somebody else steering the ship. And I hope that Favreau is not involved with these movies. I hope that he's, because he's all over this streaming stuff. And it's just, I don't know, man. I just feel like he's just going like, yeah, just put that in there. What? Let's do this. Yeah, just bring Jack Black in here and just let's do that.
I wonder what that is. Like that's the thing. Like that, I wonder, like what is that studio? Like what? I think
that's Disney going, we want to reach this audience, we want to reach this audience and this. So put Lizzo in there, put Jack Black in there. Those are two different audiences.
I wonder what
Christopher Lloyd, Back to the Future is popular. Get him in there.
I hope he writes a book or like somebody writes a book about this like one day because it would be interesting. Because like I'm sure I mean the shit he probably has to deal with. Like he probably didn't want to fire Gina Carano. Like he clearly had plans for her on the show. And like
I don't know. That's a different story because she's a dumbass. Whether she's
sure, but
she's not thinking. So
yeah, but I don't think he would have fired. You know what I mean? Like I think
that's saving face. I understand saving face, but what I don't understand is like they have the biggest pop culture icon in the last decade with Baby Yoda. There has been nothing in the last decade that has come close to the popularity that
Yeah.
he's reached. You don't need to put Lizzo. You don't need to put Jack Black. You don't need to put the ladies man. You don't need to put Christopher Lloyd. Tell a good story. Don't rely on, and you'll, but it, again, like I was saying, for the streaming service, it reaches so many people. It's in your home. So they want to make sure that people who are fans of those different things are coming to the show instead of just Star Wars fans or people who became Star Wars fans through this. I get it, but it's like you're not helping Star Wars, man. You're not writing a good Star Wars
No.
story. You're
I think
writing,
the whole, yeah.
where can we put this celebrity? How do they fit in? They don't. Get them the fuck out of here.
Yeah, I think the whole drive with Disney Plus is they, because like with the movies, they're, even though like you wouldn't know it by the required, but like there's an incentive for them to be good because people, you know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
where they make their money. They made $1 billion off all three of those, you know,
Right.
and then but with Disney, they just have to keep there's always got to be a new show. Like, hey, okay, Obi-Wan show's ending. We need another thing. Like, okay, Hawkeye's got to start up. Like, there has to be a reason to keep people subscribed. If
Right.
people's, and so it's just like,
And not just us subscribed, these other people
right,
out
like,
here too. So.
like, so it's just constantly like it doesn't necessarily have to be good. It just has to exist.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, just make it. I don't care. You know,
There's still good stuff that they're doing for Star Wars. They did that. Their animation, I think, is flawless. Bad Batch just wrapped up. Excellent. The most sincere and like heartfelt thing that Star Wars has going for it was Bad Batch. The Tales of the Jedi 6 episode cartoon was awesome.
I dug that. I liked that a lot.
Yeah. You know, they got the promise that I see these 3 movies that are coming out, and we'll end it here. We'll get into Evil Dead,
Yeah.
but is that they didn't announce trilogies. That's awesome. They make a good
Didn't
movie.
they?
No. Make a good movie. They've got the Dawn of the Jedi, the First Jedi. They've got the Mandalorian movie wrapping up the streaming stuff, and they've got the Rey Jedi Academy. Make a good movie. If it's a success, announce another one, but don't throw out a trilogy yet. You know, like just focus on a good story. But I hope that if it's successful, which they will be, that then they write another good one that makes sense instead of doing the disjointed sequel trilogy, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. Star Wars podcast. I have spoken. Go check me out over there. Kevin's. Oh, I wanted to tell you, man.
Yeah.
Obi and I decided our sign off is get out of here. It's too good. He loves that, dude. He sends me that clip of you doing that all the time. It's hilarious. Yeah, he's a big fan of yours.
Thanks, man. What the hell was I gonna tell? Oh no, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I was watching a YouTuber the other day talk about Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
And she said something I thought was pretty funny. She was like, you know what my favorite part about the Emperor is that he can, even in his like just decrepit state, he could raise hundreds of Star Destroyers out of the ground, and you know, he could do that, but if you lift him up and throw him over a balcony, he just goes
That's awesome.
like you can't,
flailing.
Yeah, like, but you could just do that and get rid of him.
That's awesome. All right, you ready for this?
Yep.
All right, Evil Dead, 1981. Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell, a bunch of other people that never made movies again.
Ted Raimi.
Where was Ted Raimi in this? I know he's in the credits.
He well, I know in the second one he plays the old lady in the
He's
basement.
listed as a shemp, which I know is like
yeah, that's like his thing. I forget where he is
zombie,
in this.
basically.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
To Raimi and Bruce Campbell. So all right. This movie, Evil Dead, do you know, like, Evil Dead 2 is the same movie just with a bigger budget? Am I generalizing there?
Kind of. So I dove in pretty hard. What is your, so like I had like seen, okay, so I saw Evil Dead 2 first in probably high school.
I bet most people did.
and I loved it. Well, it was my video store had it. Evil Dead was weird. Evil Dead 1 had it has that old school cover.
Yeah, the
It
hand.
was yeah, it had the VHS box was like some tapes like I Spit on Your Grave and all those were like oversized boxes. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like they were up higher, I remember. And I don't even remember if we had Evil Dead at my video store. I think we did. We definitely had Evil Dead 2 because I rented it a ton. Um
Amazing
and
poster.
yeah,
The skull with the eyes. I used to have
all
that.
of them.
People
Yeah.
would not. They were like, "Get that shit out of here."
But yeah, so and I always was like, and I remember I went back and watched Evil Dead 1 years ago and basically came to the conclusion that a lot of people do that was like, oh, well, it's the same movie. It's a remake. The second was a remake of the first one and it's better. You don't need the first one. Um, and then I don't know, I don't know. I had to see it. I'd revisit it every once in a while. And they were similar enough that I was like, I would kind of get remember the good stuff from Evil Dead 1 and just blend it and for some reason remember it in Evil Dead 2. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But this is the first time um that I've because I watched all three of them in a week. And I like Evil Dead 1 the best, like by far.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, no, so what they did was they made they made Evil Dead when they were like 20. Um
It's like a
and
student film almost.
basically, I mean they yeah, it was wild. But it took so they shot it in 81. They might have even shot it before that. And it technically came out in 81, but it didn't nobody saw it until like 83. Like it didn't play in most theaters until 83. Um which makes sense why we were looking at the reviews earlier that Twilight Zone I think Twilight Zone came out in 83 too. I could be wrong.
Yes. No, I think you're right.
So
Might have been a little bit before. I don't know.
it, but it would make sense that Siskel and Ebert reviewed it on the same show because
Sure.
anyway,
Yeah.
but so they did that, and then they weren't like they're like most early filmmakers where it was like, well, we're doing horror because it's the cheapest and like you can get a wider audience, whatever. And so they did that, and then they went to did this movie Crime Wave, which bombed like bad.
By they, you mean Ramy and
Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell. I'm pretty sure the Coens were
oh yeah,
involved
that's right.
because yeah, Sam Raimi lived with the Coen brothers and
Yeah.
I want to say I've
Crew.
never seen Crime Wave, but I think the Coens were involved with that. It bombed like I'm talking like 20th place at the box office, like
Yeah.
whatever. So they basically thought their careers were over and they went back and did Evil Dead 2 because Evil Dead 1 had kind of a following. Um, and it was just successful for him. But what's wild is they another company, or I don't know if it was another company. Basically, there was a rights issue with the first one. They didn't own the rights to the first movie. Another company was putting out Evil Dead 2, then put out the first one, or owned. I don't know. Someone might have bought the rights. Either way, and so that's why they basically reshot or the beginning of Evil Dead 2 is basically like it's like a quick like paint by numbers version of the first one. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
like and then this happened, and now we're here. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's just
But
it's a
they're
little weird.
there, but it's the same scenario with the same characters.
It is. Bruce Campbell talks about this a little bit in this one interview where he's like, "Yeah, it's a remake." He's like, that's what it is." He's
Yeah.
like, because people think like, why would he go back to that house or whatever? It is. It's a flat out remake. He says that there's a point where you can start Evil Dead 2, and it does make sense. And they like if you take away the first 15 minutes of Evil Dead 2 and start at this particular point, then it lines up. It doesn't exactly
With the first one.
because yeah, it doesn't exactly like makes it one big long movie
Yeah.
instead of, but it doesn't really because of the the tape they find. Like
Yeah.
in
The
this
basement.
one, they just find the tape, and
Right.
then the monsters come. In the other one, they find the tape, and then like the daughter of the guy on the tape, like shows up with her uh boyfriend or whatever he is. But like there's that whole thing. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
That's wild. I need to. It's been so long since I've watched two. I usually watch one, and Army of Darkness is my favorite. Although
Really?
Army of Darkness, because I saw it in the theater, man. I remember um just being blown away with how, because I saw Army of Darkness first before I saw either of the two. And I was like, Jesus Christ, where, like, give me like more of this, like an IV of this shit. The humor was like straight up my alley, all that stuff. And then I went back and I watched them backwards. I watched Evil Dead 2. And when I first saw Evil Dead 1, I was like, whoa, like this is different, because Evil Dead 1, this first one, Evil Dead 1 that we're talking about today is um there's not a lot of humor in it.
There's not.
The
It's
humor
a straight
comes,
horror movie.
yeah, it's a straight horror. The humor comes from like, holy shit, he just swallowed a giant bucket of blood, like that's funny, but the scenario that's going on is like serious.
It's yeah.
But when it happens in two, it's like intentionally, like, because Sam Raimi has one of the best senses of humors in
yeah,
Hollywood.
yeah.
But
And
yeah,
it works really well in Evil Dead 2.
yeah,
But like, yeah, the humor in the first one comes from like, it's like when you're watching John Wick and then you have like like you just realize like you step out of like your mind for a second, like you're watching the movie and then you just like realize like what you're watching and you're like,
uh-huh.
and you're like, it's
Yeah, like
funny, like
he just went through
Jesus
like
Christ, yeah,
17
like,
guys in a
and
second. Yeah,
that's how this is. It's just like,
gratuitous
dude,
to the
what
max.
yeah, just nuts,
Yeah,
man, and just
but
man,
I would, after watching it this week, like I would argue it's one of the top 10 best horror movies of all time.
I agree.
Uh,
It's a masterpiece,
it
man.
is
There's no
everything.
it's so good.
When you look at all the stuff that is in this movie in 1981, whether it's, and most of it is like camera work and sound, it's been aped and homaged so many times. Just something as simple as like the camera passing by from and the ceiling passing by a rafter, and there's a sound that goes with it. It's like
Mhm.
vroom, vroom, every time it passes by, that kind of stuff. Or I love how he does the character in the forefront and action in the back,
Yeah.
that the character in the forefront doesn't know is going on.
Hmm.
That kind of stuff. The light, I swear they lit this thing with the headlights of that Pontiac, that, because like, how every shot in the woods is lit like there's a car lighting it, with this like forefront light that just shoots out, and then, but it's like a tunnel of light. It's stuff
Sure.
that's like so simple and so easy, but is, I feel like, especially as far as horror movies go, we saw it in this first. It happened in this first.
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, everything in it. I mean, the sound design in this
Yeah,
and
it's
in all of them
phenomenal.
are it's insane. It's so like just it's just raw and just
The like, I forget which scene it was, but it was like, I guess it was when his sister's out in the woods. Yeah, it is. And she's like, which is like, she's the most scared out of the whole bunch, and she goes out into the woods. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? But when she's out there, and like, there's fog and shit, and the sound of the creatures or the demons or whatever it is that's out there is like some freaky ass shit. Did you ever, I know you hate the movie, but it gives me vibes. This is the first time I realized, like, I feel like this movie takes place in the same universe as Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things. It's got that like really raw, just like carnal vibe to it.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
You need to watch that movie again, man. You need to
I
give
don't
that
know,
movie
man.
another chance.
I was gonna say this one, my big thing I love about this is there's no fat on it. Like
Yeah,
every
there isn't.
second
No,
matters.
you're right.
We're like that movie was just that was
All
all it
fat.
was a big flabby piece. It was like we gotta pad this runtime. We only got about 5 minutes of interesting shit, and we gotta get 90 minutes out of it.
Uh, No, you're right. This movie is like trim as hell. Um, I also love like when he's, I love that scene in the beginning and they're in the car and there's like almost a car accident, whatever, with the truck and Ash, like the angle is up at the guy who's driving and Ash's head pops out from
Mhm.
behind. He's like, watch out, what you do? You know, and it just Raimi's camera work, you know, like whether it's this or Spider-Man,
It's kind of funny because like
Spider-Man
this,
2,
you could credit a
Doctor
lot of
Strange.
the really badass shit in this to being like, well, I don't think it's not that he didn't know what he was doing, but he was 20 and he was ambitious and like,
I think he
we'll
knew
try it like
exactly
this.
what he was doing.
That's the thing, man. But like now, I mean, it's a staple. It's in
Yeah.
everything. Like it's,
Yeah.
I mean,
I think I mean, I'm sure like if you list, well, regardless of what he says, he could say anything now, but if you watched interviews with him back then, I think he came to this thing with so many ideas of how he wanted it to look and he got it exactly how he wanted it to look. I think he came to it with a style that was fresh and got it. Like it's too like a lot of technical. It's a lot, you know, it's too technical to be
that's the other thing.
accidental.
Like it's got this like vibe of like we'll do, like, hey, I mean, I think 10 or 12 people worked on this and they all lived in the cabin
Right.
while they were
Jesus
shooting it.
Christ.
And like, so it's got this sense of like indie, hey, we'll see what it works, but it's also like, yeah, like this technical, like everything is just like really well thought out
Right.
and really like, but what's so weird is like you've got these effects in all three of them that are sometimes just like, how the fuck did they do that? Wow, that looks great. But then you've also got effects that are like an Evil Dead or an Army of Darkness, they're literally just throwing plastic skeletons
Yeah.
at Bruce Campbell, or like, or the second one where like the girlfriend comes in, like the decapitated body,
Yeah.
like comes in with a chainsaw, and that's just a guy. That's just a guy on his back with a skateboard.
Oh yeah.
Like just
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean, and
yeah.
it's very clearly like
That's
just
hilarious.
just a like janky ass puppet, but like
That's awesome. This was I don't know. Did you have a favorite gag? Did you have a favorite effect in this?
in this one, uh
There's like this was the first time, as many times as I've seen this movie, you know the scene where he's fighting the guy, his buddy,
yeah,
and I think he grabs him by the head and puts his thumb through his eyes. I always thought that that was an effect. I always thought that was a human face with like some kind of prosthetic that they were
yeah,
pushing the eyes in, but the whole face is fake. I didn't realize that because it looks so good. It also looks so identical to what the dude actually looks like in that current state that he's in, which is just straight fucked up. But
yeah.
great. I love that effect. That was really awesome. Um, this is probably the most like juicy movie ever or one of ever made. Is number two more moist than this one?
Like blood wise, or
Yeah, like just juices and things like that.
I mean,
I
there's a
can't
lot of
remember.
blood in this one. There's in the second one though, there's the whole like there's the scene where that redneck is like he's like trapped in the cellar, like they're sucking him down, and they literally just they had a fucking hose full of blood. Like I think yeah,
God, why can't I remember that? That's crazy.
the second one's awesome, but I would say honestly, yeah, like the more distance you have between the two, because this one's great, but the second one, if you watch them back to back, I think you'll like it less
Second
because
one? Okay.
yeah, because I mean, and the other thing is all the great things about the second one that are like that I loved. I mean, I saw it 20 years ago and I saw it a bunch. So like the first time I saw the where he's got the possessed hand
Yeah.
and it was like it was insane. It was hilarious. It was just awesome. And then he like saws it off with a fucking chains. It was just like this is insane. Like I'd never seen a movie like that before. Now I'm 20 years out and it's like it just doesn't hit me the same way because I've seen it,
Yeah.
like and
This one
So
doesn't have a lot of that. It doesn't have a lot of like um I guess it doesn't, aside from like makeup, it doesn't have a lot of prop work going on until the end. There's like the claymation stuff and stuff like that. But I feel like the second one, from what I remember, and the third one, Army of Darkness, absolutely did a lot more of like things, people doing things with things. I don't know.
it was that's what so yeah, Army of Darkness has always been I always wanted to like it more than I did. And I used to like it a lot. And I don't hate it by any means now, but it doesn't like every time I watch it, I like it less, if that makes
Really,
sense. Yeah, it's just because the horror is basically all gone. Like
right?
you know what I mean? It's all
Definitely.
it's more of a comedy action movie,
Yeah,
you know?
that's what I'm drawn to. I think about it. As yeah, you're right. It's not a. It's not. It's more of a It's more of a fantasy movie. Um, but it's the first time they turn Ash into, like, they solidify Ash as a like a hero, a heroic, a superhero, basically. Um,
Yeah,
you know, I know that happens towards the end of number two. He gets the chainsaw right at the end of two.
yeah. And
Uh,
it's always stuck in my craw a little bit that like the chainsaw was so awesome. And
yeah,
then one of the first things he does in the second one, or
it's the yeah,
is he gets the hand, which I
yeah,
was like, it's kind of a cop out. I
yeah.
mean, you
I
know,
felt that way too when I was watching it for the first time, but there's just something, his shotgun stuff. I could watch that all day. The one-liners. It's more unique than, because it came at a time when one-liner action heroes were dying. It wasn't like a thing anymore, and I think
hmm
they knew that, and I think that's why Ash is sort of like, they wanted Ash to become what was left over of that action hero era, especially when you watch the series. Because he's an old man, or an old, like, he's in his 50s or 60s or wherever he is in the series, and he's still doing this stuff. And it's just like, that character, to create a character like that, and it got comic books where it's like Ash versus Freddy versus Jason, that kind of thing.
right.
So every time I think back to Army of Darkness, I'm like, yeah, that was like the origin, or like the solidification of Ash as a superhero. Um, but not really a horror movie. So that's why this first one is just so unique, I guess. Not just within the trilogy, but for like, think about 81. What did we have? Like, there was like Jason, the first Friday the 13th movie was like 1980. Um,
Was it 80?
I think it was 80. And so we didn't really have Jason as we know him. Um, there were a lot of like slasher movies going around at the time. Freddy wasn't a thing. Horror movies were like The Exorcist or stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
you look at this as a horror movie, man. Raimi really put like a lot of new stuff into it.
Yeah. I mean, it's not zombies. It's not, you know what I mean? It's a new thing, you know.
It's not possession in the sense of The Exorcist.
no, I don't know what you call
It's,
it,
yeah,
you
it's
know.
something that comes out of the woods and can just like fuck everyone in the house. It's like, holy shit.
Yeah. And it's such an easy, like that trick. I mean, all that is it's they just put a camera on a 2x4 and just ran through the fucking
Yeah.
woods. That's all they did. And it's so effective, man.
Yeah. Have you ever read If Chins Could Kill? Bruce Campbell's
No, I think I'm
autobiography?
gonna. I think I'm gonna do the audiobook. I've heard
Great,
it's really good.
great book, man. Does he do the audiobook?
He's gotta. I'm sure.
If he doesn't, I would not do it. If he
Oh no.
does, that's got to be a treat. But the book is great, and he goes into like just all the minutia and weird shit that Rami put them through, especially him, in making all this. Not in a bad way, but it was like, yeah, we would just we're gonna put gallons of this on you, or like, go in here and do that. the things that they did,
Yeah.
like bending backwards
They
for
talk about that. Well, he talks about it on the commentary, and then on the bonus stuff, they talk about a lot where it's like, I mean, between him and Sam and Raimi's brother, it was just basically like, yeah, do more of that. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like Ted couldn't breathe, like doing the old lady, and it was just like, no, he's fine. Fuck him. Like it's fine. You know, like
He's
and
always doing that to him, I think, Ted, like in his movies.
yeah, I mean,
Dark
but
Man. Dark Man,
yeah,
there was a lot of shit that he had to go through in that. Um, did you in any of the behind the scenes stuff, did they talk about the cabin at all? Like the history of it, what they did or whatever, where it came
yeah, they talked about a little in that like I forget how they found it. Um, because I was in and out of the the making of is only Evil Dead 2 that I
from?
saw. And then Bruce Campbell didn't talk a ton about how they found it, I don't think. Um, but they did say that like they they had to knock down walls and stuff to get it how they wanted it to be because they wanted that I guess originally the living room was 2 rooms, but they wanted one big room. And what's cool about it is like you always know where you are in the house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's got to get to the back door, you know how long that's going to take him, and that's really neat. Um, he talked the basement. The basement wasn't the actual basement. The basement was shot somewhere else, um, and separately. Um, what else did they say about the cabin? It's not there anymore.
Really?
But the fireplace is still there.
Really?
And yeah, the fireplace is still there.
So
And
did the place burn down maybe? That's
I
what that
don't,
was like.
I'm not sure, but the
Yeah.
Bruce Campbell says that someone brought him a brick from the fireplace
Really?
to sign.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah.
That cabin, man, is like what a fucking nightmare. Like when just what we see of it in the movie, like you got the front door that goes right into the living room, and then there's the door at the back of the living room. This is all just from the movie, like
Mm-hmm.
in my brain. But there's a door at the back of the living room that I guess is like a hallway to the at least 2 bedrooms, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And when they go in through there, like when chick gets stabbed in the foot with the pencil, and so she's laying down in one of the bedrooms,
Oh,
and at
what a
some
shot.
point and at some point uh somebody goes to check on her, so you get kind of a tour of through the living room and to the back. It's just like what a nightmare mini little haunted house place, like Texas chain. Like who lived there? Like who lived in this crazy little tiny creep house in the middle of nowhere? Like it's insane. Especially when they show it from the back coming through to the front. That there's like that hallway that feels like a horse stable almost or something.
Mm-hmm.
And the way it's lit, it's just like creepy, man. I didn't realize until watching it this time, especially being in the toy community like I am. A lot of people do like resin figures of different characters in this franchise, and I think it was damn, who made it? Somebody recently made a little resin figure of the sister in that position, popping the door, the
Oh yeah,
cellar
yeah.
door up.
Yeah.
Like the figure is just like that. It's just the hinge up, the door up with the chain and her coming out. But it's from that scene where they drag the friend drags his girlfriend out of the fire. Or no. It's when somebody's dead. Somebody's being dragged across the floor and the camera
Yeah.
goes with the body. And
Mm-hmm.
as it goes, eventually the body beats the camera out of frame and the camera goes like this, and then there's the sister just like watching with that door open.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
such a fucking amazing shot. It's it's iconic. It's like it's just amazing, man.
Yeah.
She's just
I
like
mean,
breathing.
you know what? Yeah. And you know what this movie does constantly is like he'll be dealing with some shit and he'll have like time to breathe. Like he'll like, okay, he's got to fight whoever. Like he's got one of the 2 girls or whatever. And he finally like is like, okay. And then like, oh no, whatever. She's attacking him again. And then like something else happens like right away where he's got to deal with like three or four things at a time. Like when the when his buddy like wakes up, like when he's
Right.
already dealing,
Sits up.
it was just, yeah, like when he gets a time, when he gets a minute to like collect himself, he
Yeah.
gets it. But like when shit goes down, it all goes down at once. It's
Right.
fucking awesome, man.
That's a cool theme of the Deadites is to overwhelm, you know,
Yeah.
to overwhelm their prey, whoever they're fighting. Yeah, it's a great point. Did you have a favorite kill out of the bunch, or they were all kind of killed in like a very drawn out way?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like every time, I mean, you
Did you have a
think they're
favorite
dead.
character that died a certain
I
way?
I really dug the stop motion at the end.
Yeah.
Because it's like jarring because it's one of the only like effects. You know what I mean? I know there's the stop motion like dance in the beginning, but like everything else is like mostly makeup and blood and stuff like that. But like that, and I guess when all the music plays at once and all the blood comes in, that's a lot of that stop motion. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was.
That stuff is eerie as fuck because Raimi does a lot of silent scenes, and that stop motion scene
Yeah,
where like the book is burning and the two of them just like freeze, and
yeah,
you can tell like they're kind of rotting from the inside out is what's happening in that scene, and it's like, and then there's like little moaning or movement and they start to fall apart. Like, yeah, it's
yeah.
really good. It's really good. Um, the which one did I write? One of them was like extra brutal. Um, the
Oh,
girlfriend getting.
the
Which one were you gonna say?
when I think it's the sister gets raped by the tree.
Yeah, I mean
Like
that's like
that's something that always people would bring up, and I would be like, I would say Evil Dead, and they're like, "Is that the one where the chick gets raped by a tree?" And because the same thing kind of happens in the second one, but
right,
it's not as like this one. There's no question the
right.
tree rapes this chick. The first one, it's kind of like it's a little implied that it's going that way, but like it's not as whatever. And I was always like, I wouldn't say that he rapes. And then I saw this, I'm like, oh, that person was right. Like,
You're
yeah,
talking about the second one. Second
and
one
the
is
second one, the same thing happens, but it's not
okay.
as
Okay, it's not as brutal.
it's not as nuts,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's one of the to do that. I guess to do that in the like 80 81 would be a lot easier to do than what 88. When was number 2? 87? 87.
I think it was 8788 because Army Dog is 92.
Yeah. God, that's crazy.
Well, it's also, I mean, this was they made this. They made this. That's the thing. Like, and then they brought it out and had it distributed. So like
Right,
they didn't have to answer to anybody, like
right.
it was nobody was like, hey man, cut
Yeah.
that tree rape scene.
Yeah, tree rape. I thought
Funny actually, funny story. You know how I don't two little funny things about the title. Army of Darkness, that wasn't the title Sam Raimi wanted. The studio
yeah.
made him name it that.
Yeah,
He
what
wanted
was it?
it was Medieval Dead.
Oh, really? Medieval
Yeah.
Dead? I didn't know that. No.
That was what it was going to be called. And the studio was like, no. And what's so weird is the studio,
That would have been so perfect. Oh, that's
yeah, I
great.
know. But
Yeah.
the studio like marketed it like I mean, they advertised the shit out of it. They gave it a giant release. And it was like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
Like, it's the third movie and it's so weird, like,
Yeah.
but anyway, but they didn't want the Evil Dead. They didn't want to call it that. That was, I think their agent's idea. Um, Bruce Campbell tells a story. They wanted to call it the Book of the Dead, and I think it was their agent. It might have been the manager, whoever it was like, you can't call it that. Nobody's gonna want to watch a movie about a book. Like that's what people are gonna think it is. Change the title to The Evil Dead, and they were like, What does that even mean? The Evil Dead? He's like, it's better. Just name it that.
Yeah. I agree. I agree with that. It's interesting that in this movie, I don't know if they do this in number 2, but they don't call it the Necronomicon. It's got a really
They call it that in the second one.
okay. In this first one, it's got this like 4-word name. It's really long. I can't remember what it is, but I think even more brutal than that tree rape scene is the Scott, is it Scotty, his buddy?
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Scotty's the friend.
Scotty's got a when Scotty chops up his girlfriend. Because at the time I'm thinking like, you know, there is a chance that you could burn the book and then they become unpossessed, maybe, I guess. Especially because we see Ash's girlfriend kind of get a moment of clarity, remember before
Yeah.
where she's like, don't let them take me again. And she's genuine. I think in that moment, she's genuinely her. It's not the deadite demon possession
Oh,
like
I see. I read
thing.
it as like they're fucking with him.
You could, and I think in number two it might be that way, but in this one, because if you watch, when she does that, is when it's when I think the sister gets loose or something happens. So they turn and like steps forward to see what's going on over there. And she's still her, you know, behind
Hmm.
him. And she's like freaked out and she's backing away. But then all of a
Hmm.
sudden it comes back. So I think it's genuine. But anyway, so there is that possibility, I feel like. And I think that we've seen it. Yeah. In Army of Darkness, the pretty girl gets possessed and then unpossessed when it's all over. Remember?
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway, so that's a possibility. And Scotty chops up his girlfriend like without even thinking about that. He just like, nope, gonna chop her
Scott,
up.
Scotty's a real piece of shit. Scotty's the one that's like,
Yeah, he's like,
he's
fuck you
like,
guys, I'm out of here.
yeah. I mean,
Then
he's
he
that
gets
guy
raped
in
by a
that
bunch of
movie.
trees too.
Right, exactly. Like, you know,
Yeah,
he's he's the guy in every horror movie that's
yeah.
gonna fuck, you know.
Um, yeah.
I
There
thought
was
it
a
was
couple
weird they wanted to bury her, like, but
totally,
whatever. You know, like that's the thing that happens in older movies a lot.
totally. Did you have a just as far as possession movies go, is there another movie that you lean towards over something like one of these?
I mean, The Exorcist
Yeah,
is the standard, I feel like.
I suppose, yeah. I feel like there was like a time period in like the early to mid 2000s where there was a bunch of the possession of so and so. Did you ever see the I think it's called the depression of the possession of or taking of Deborah Logan?
No, but I've heard of it.
Oh man, what a awesome movie. It's very like kind of Blair Witchy as far as how it's filmed. Like documentary style almost. It's a great movie. You should check it out.
Yeah, I would check that
Um,
out.
but these are I guess these always stand out. It's the total package, with these things, with these movies, with this franchise.
I mean, just
Especially
everything is so like the makeup's great, the sound is great, the fucking it's just enough. Like everything is just perfect, man. It's so wild that this might be. I mean, I can you think of like besides like Reservoir Dogs, like a stronger like directorial debut. Like
yeah, I mean especially for the genre, like Reservoir Dogs, great point, but heist gangster crime movies were there's some good ones
sure,
before that came out. But as far as this goes, yeah, there's great horror movies before 81. But he was doing stuff that was like he really took the horror movie genre, demon subgenre, and he just like grabbed it and was like, nah, like look at all this stuff that you can do. It doesn't have to just be this like mundane kill the kids in the woods kind of deal. He made it like he made the brutality and the terror fun. Like we
yeah,
were saying earlier, where there's not a lot of like intentional comedy, but you can see Raimi's sense of humor in this movie. In number two, he
I
lets
mean,
loose
yeah,
with the
it's
comedy.
full on like Three
But
Stooges
yeah,
stuff. Like,
totally. But in this, it was like, you know, just so much new stuff, so much style. I would argue that even before, like this time and before, you didn't get a lot of directors that had a style. Most of it was like it's in horror. Most of it was just like film this thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I could, yeah, I'm with you on that. But
Um,
man,
yeah,
what a movie, man. I
good
mean,
stuff.
Yeah. I recommend watching Evil Dead 2 just to
I might watch that tonight just because it's been so long. So we went and watched Siskel and Ebert's review of the movie. I always love seeing, what he has to say, what they have to say. I don't agree with him though. Neither of them liked it, but um
Ebert kind of respected it,
he respected it. He's the craftsmanship of it. But he said, I wouldn't think that I would disagree with this, but he said that it was clearly inspired by Night of the Living Dead. I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
Like Night of the Living Dead is, if he's just talking about like people taking refuge or being in a house and being slaughtered or whatever, okay, but that's not digging, even scratching just below the surface, because the scenarios are way different. Like nobody's taking they went to this cabin.
Right.
There's no, yeah, I just don't, I think that's a lazy assessment on his part, but
Yeah, I'll agree. I'm gonna look up to see if he has an actual review of it.
yeah,
You know.
yeah, I'd be curious if he went any deeper. um it's funny though, the scene that Siskel made the point that out of the 85 minutes, there's 60 minutes that they could not show on TV. And at the time of doing their show at the movies, that was like, when did that was like prime time when that show would come on.
Yeah.
I remember like that was the only way you could see like movie reviews or
Trailers.
trailers
Yeah.
outside of the theater. And like it's funny that the one scene that they showed is just the most gratuitous
Yeah, the bloody
blood
scene.
when the pipe burst. But yeah, that's just funny. I miss that show so much, man.
Yeah.
Such a good time. But yeah, that's all I got, man. What, you got anything else?
No, man. Yeah, it's a fucking masterpiece. You should.
Solid.
Let me know what you think of two, because I bet. I mean, I love it. I love two. Don't get me wrong, but I think this is so much better. You
Yeah.
know.
Solid movie, definitely unique, definitely the first of its kind in a lot of ways. It's funny seeing how much stuff was taken and borrowed from that. All right, so for next week, I've got the letter F, and it's a doozy of a letter, man. There's so many really great movies, and I'm still kind of on the fence. So you got stuff like um, Fade to Black, which is something I never saw, but I totally love that VHS cover. Another one that I never watched as a kid, but always saw the VHS. You got stuff like The Faculty, um, Final Destination. I've never seen that, the first one.
Not
Firestarter.
bad. First one's not bad.
Yeah, Firestarter. Um, Stephen King, Flatliners, The Fly 2, The Fog. I love The Fog. It's a great movie. Um, what else is in here? You mentioned Frailty, one of our favorites,
Right.
Frankenhooker.
Yeah.
So there's a ton, man. But in this list that I'm looking at, you got all the Frankenstein movies, like shit, every Frankenstein movie. Someone told me there's a movie called Freaky 2020 with
Oh, I saw it. I
with
saw it.
what's his name? Vince
Vince
Vaughn.
Vaughn.
Is
Yeah.
that worth watching? I know it's not, it
It's
doesn't
it's
qualify.
it's okay. It's I mean, it's fine. It's a kind of a funny idea. He plays like Jason basically.
Okay.
Um, but and he it's like Freaky Friday, but he gets like his brain switched with like a teenager, like a teenage girl.
So it's like if Jason's brain got switched with one of his victims almost.
Yeah, but she's also in Jason's body.
Right. That's
So
weird. That's weird.
yeah,
Freddy,
it was fine. It was okay.
yeah. Freddy versus Jason, Freddy's Nightmare. So there's a shitload. Friday the 13th, all those movies. Gosh, dude, there are so many fucking movies for F.
Yeah, man.
Um, Fright Night we did in a previous season. The one
Yeah.
that I had picked, because I hadn't seen it in a long time, is The Frighteners. Peter
Okay.
Jackson,
I haven't seen it in a while.
Michael J. Fox.
I saw it in theaters. Um,
Yeah, me too. What was it, like 96?
every time I go back to watch it, I'm like, This isn't as good as I remember. But
I
I mean,
agree. I feel like that's where I was the last time I watched it, but I haven't seen it in 20 years,
I think a
15.
lot of it comes from like a lot of nostalgia for the movie comes from the poster
Yeah.
and the box cover because it was
Well,
lenticular.
like I
But
said,
whatever you want, whatever you want.
I had picked that, but then I didn't realize I went back and looked at this list. From Dusk Till Dawn, man.
Oh, I actually thought about that one earlier in the week. I mean, that one is I love that movie.
Yeah. But see, I don't want to get something that I hate picking one that's just like, one of our favorites. Um, it's tough. It's a tough call. Out of all that stuff that I just named, what stands out to you?
I guess From Dusk Till Dawn, Frankenhooker.
Didn't we do Frankenhooker?
No, we did not.
I
No,
know,
we did not.
we talked about it a lot though after
You
when I
yeah,
watched
you
it.
just saw it like recent, like within the last couple of years.
Yeah, and we talked about it a lot, so I won't do that. I've never seen Flatliners. Have you seen Flatliners?
I wouldn't consider that really even a horror movie.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, that's more of like I would consider that more of like a thriller.
Okay.
What? But good movie. Good movie.
What I'm leaning towards is uh the original Fly, because it's been a long time since I've seen that.
I would do that actually. That I would. Or what are you thinking?
Dusk Till Dawn, From Dusk Till Dawn. Um Bright Night. No.
Right
I just I
again.
just watched it again the other night. Uh Dude, Friday the 13th, Jason Takes Manhattan. Didn't we do that? We did a whole thing. We did
We
all.
did a whole thing on Friday the 13th.
All right.
I would be good with either one of those, From Dusk Till Dawn or The Fly, because I've been wanting to do a rewatch of The Fly, but also From Dusk Till Dawn I could recite. Like
Yeah, I
I've
know.
seen it so many times, but I love it. It's
Me too.
great.
Me too.
I love showing it to people. Lindsay was when I watched it with Linz, she got pissed. Like it's fun watching people's reactions to it because what's great about it is
They think it's a heist movie, and then it
well,
turns
if you
into
don't,
a
yeah,
vampire.
I always say I'm like, do not look at the DVD menu, don't look at the box, don't look at
Right.
anything. We're just
Right.
gonna watch this movie, and like it goes on for a long time before
Yeah.
it turned like vampires show up, and Linz was fucking pissed
Right.
because she was invested in the heist. You know what I mean? And like, I'm into this,
Right.
and now it's vampires.
Yeah. Especially if you're not like a necessarily a horror fan, and I know Linz doesn't really look for that stuff. So
No, and it's just like, and yeah, I can't. I mean, I knew going in, but yeah.
I don't think I did.
Oh,
I
dude,
think
I'll never forget. One of the first things I think about with this movie is, uh, I think I was in sixth grade or seventh grade, and a kid at my lunch table had seen it. I don't know if he had seen it in theater. I think his dad had taken him to see it,
I know what you're gonna say.
and he just said the Cheech Marin
Yeah. The
pussy line,
monologue.
and he had memorized. He loved, and he just did it, and it was like,
What a
and,
fucking
and he's
weirdo.
like, then he goes to a strip club, and the strip club's called the Titty Twister, and it's full of vampires. And I was like, what? I need to see this movie right now. What is this movie, man?
um all right. I'm not gonna pick that. Just it's too yeah.
Yeah.
Um it's either the Fly 2, or one of these obscure ones that I haven't seen, which is what I'd rather do. You ever hear of Funhouse 1981?
I've heard of it. I would say The Fly because I haven't seen The Fly in a long time, and I'm kind of looking for an excuse to do a rewatch. So, like,
All
I
right, we'll
would say
watch.
The Fly.
Let's do the Fly. Um, actually, I kind of swore off the Fly too because it's got that dog stuff in it. I can't deal with that.
I haven't seen The Fly 2 since I was a kid. It was
You
one
know,
of the first movies that I rented on my own.
yeah, you don't remember the dog going through the machine and getting all fucked up?
Not really. I mean, I'm
Uh,
talking like 8 years old. I watched it,
man, it scarred me for life.
and
All
maybe
right,
10. I was probably 10.
it's either the Fly or Funhouse. I know you don't like movies that are what we're
I
supposed
mean,
to be, what we're supposed to be
you
talking
could roll
about.
the dice on Funhouse, but I think The Fly.
It's
I
like
would.
my last one where Deadly Eyes. What did we do for D instead of Deadly Eyes? It
What
was
do we do for
Clue.
D?
Oh, Dr. Giggles. Fucking Dr. Giggles. I could have watched
But I
Giant
hadn't seen that
Rats.
one. You
I
know,
didn't either. I didn't either. All right. Man, I'm really torn,
or
man.
we can
Fly.
We can do Funhouse if you want.
All right, we'll do the Fly. We'll do Funhouse.
Whatever you want, man. It's your pick.
Oh, Funhouse looks awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't dive into spoilers, but whatever you want.
I know you want to watch The Fly.
I don't care. I'll watch The Fly anyway, but yeah, just do whatever you want.
If you had the choice for F, would you have picked The Fly or From Dusk Till Dawn?
The Fly.
Which means if I pick The Fly, you'll probably pick From Dusk Till Dawn next season.
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about that. Like it may be. I mean, sometimes
You would never pick Funhouse on your own.
I don't think so. I mean, I wouldn't seek it out.
All right, we're gonna do Funhouse. All right, Funhouse it is. Yay! Good pick, Kevin. All right, so I think we're gonna do Funhouse. It's one of those VHSs I've always wanted to watch. And maybe Kevin will watch The Fly for What'd You Watch for next week. Because I know that if Kevin had the choice, he would either pick From Dusk Till Dawn or The Fly. So if I pick The Fly, he's going to pick From Dusk Till Dawn next season. So Funhouse, that means Funhouse will never get picked. And I didn't get to watch Deadly Eyes. I had to watch Dr. Giggles instead. So Funhouse. I think that does it. Kevin, you got anything else?
Nope.
All right, man. Evil Dead 1981 in the books. If you guys want to find us on social media, you can find us at Death by Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, and we're on YouTube. We got all our, if you rather listen to this on YouTube, it's there. Check out, if you want to support the show, make sure you share the podcast. Thanks for listening. Also, big shout out, big thanks to our patrons. If you'd like to support the show directly, we're at patreon.com/deathbypodcast, where you can find our bonus mini podcast, BoobTube TV. This week we watched Tales from the Crypt, season 2, episode 15, entitled Mute Witness to Murder. It was a pretty good episode. We talked about that and a bunch of other stuff. You also get stickers and behind the scenes on the podcast. What Kevin and I are doing below the waist as we record. Who knows? It's a mystery. So that's patreon.com/deathbypodcast. And that's it. That's all I got. That's all Kevin's got. Right?
That's all I got.
Thanks for listening, folks. I'm your host, Adam. It's your other host.
Yep.
It's Miller time. Kevin? Thanks, James Woods. All right, folks. We'll see you next week with Funhouse. It's a house of fun.